Coach, thanks kindly for joining me today on this SimpleCoach Coach interview. Really do appreciate you taking the time and probably coming to me from a cold Wisconsin, I would assume.
Very cold Wisconsin. It's been like zero for the last so many days. It finally peaked over 32.
Nice. Hey, let me ask you that: is this your third year or technically fourth year?
This was our second official season.
Does that include the COVID season?
Nope, we did not participate in the COVID season.
Okay. So it's the second. Okay, it's the second season for Wisconsin Eau Claire soccer.
Yep.
Correct. Okay, I was, yeah, because when I was looking like historically, hey, how have you done? I only saw the 2 years. So let me ask you. I mean, that's pretty unique, and not to mention how well you've done. So why don't we start with just tell me what your soccer experience has been like? How did you end up at Eau Claire? Probably I'd ask on top of that, like, what compelled you to say, hey, I want to be the head coach to start this program, which could have gone two different ways, right? Like usually with a startup program.
Absolutely. I guess you got to start kind of when I was a kid. Growing up, I would sit on my dad's riding lawnmower and mow the lawn and think about how I could. I have a younger brother, 2.5 years younger. How I could work with his team and coach his team. So I'd always tell my dad, hey, coach. My brother's name's Cody. I'd be like, Coach Cody's team, and he's like, why? And then I would, I want to coach it. So we were super young. I was like 12 at the time, and he took it over, coached for a little bit, and then we moved, and then just kind of from there, I just was always coaching my brother's team since I was 15, he was like 12, and then I got hooked up with the club in the area that I work for is St. Croix Soccer Club, really quality soccer club. I'm leaving for ECNL Symposium here in a couple hours for that. So coached for them for a few years. Then all of a sudden, when I was like 20, wanted to coach high school soccer. That was kind of always the dream after finishing high school soccer. So at 21, I got my first high school coaching job and took kind of the worst team in the state and made them the best team. And then decided I wanted to coach college soccer. One of my friends was just like, you should jump in at University of St. Thomas. My friend John needs someone. So that day, emailed him, went into his office, met up with him. He was like, what are you known for? I'm like, recruiting. That's what I'm best at. So jumped in at St. Thomas. We made a Final Four run, Elite Eight, Sweet 16 in the 3 years I was there. And then kind of bet on myself, finished my coaching licenses, stopped my teaching career, and the Eau Claire job opened up and went after it.
Mm-hmm. So that's a progression, right? I think I wonder how many coaches would have been like, if they had something stable somewhere or they were already on a program, like jump in, because I'm sure it was, right? Like just a little bit of chaos to start.
Yeah. Okay. So to kind of backtrack, I guess, for your question, why? I guess when I play FIFA, I always want to play the career mode and take the worst team and make them the best team. And then I get bored once they're the best team and then want to go redo it and go take another bad team and make them good again. So that's kind of always been my MO, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, North St. Paul High School, taking the worst, made them the best, and then needed something else. So when this job came open, I grew up in Hudson, Wisconsin, which is in the same conference as Eau Claire for high school. So very familiar with the area and everything. The recruiting pipeline of the area, which with the St. Croix Soccer Club, made it kind of a seamless fit. And then Eau Claire never had a men's program. When I interviewed there, I was theoretically kind of interviewing them actually in terms of what they're doing, what they had going on, and I was blown away with the athletic department. And with President's Cup, they always finish in the top 20. They put in a brand new turf fields. They're making it a full-on stadium. We're putting in a brand new indoor facility. So we have a lot of things going on. So it was super neat to hear all that, especially with with Nike contract. Everything's Nike, which I love Nike. So just seemed like a great fit and a lot of fun.
Um, the, so you're not part of the conference, correct? You're not part of the Wisconsin, the WIAC. You're right, not yet, at least, because you're
Not
too
yet.
new.
So yeah, when Oshkosh president dropped it, or chancellor dropped it years ago, that
Hmm.
disbanded the WIAC. So currently there is no WIAC. The hope is we're told that supposedly Stevens Point and
Hmm.
Stout are going to be adding men's soccer, and that will bring back the WIAC.
Oh, okay. All right. So you're, I mean, technically you're an independent. Um,
Correct.
let, so you mentioned, the high schools that sort of act as a pipeline of recruits. What's sort of your recruiting area right now? Like if you had your druthers, like is it Wisconsin, or because Wisconsin has a great soccer tradition, right? Like
Absolutely. No,
so.
I mean Wisconsin. So theoretically, when I took the job, it was my entire St. Croix soccer team, which
Mm-hmm.
was a really, really good soccer team. They kind of laid the foundation. Then personal relationships with other kids
Mm-hmm.
brought other ones in. Our 23 recruiting class actually doesn't have a Minnesota kid in it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they're Wisconsin, Illinois, Tennessee, Washington. We're pretty well spread out now, but
Mm-hmm.
that kind of ties in with me being an ECNL coach as well,
Mm-hmm.
where St. Croix wasn't ECNL until last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we just followed the Midwest path, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, until then.
Yeah.
So I would say majority of our group is Wisconsin based
Mm-hmm.
now.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, it just, like I said, you guys have a great soccer tradition, and so let me ask you. I mean, there's so many thoughts going through my head, like, yeah, the soccer's whatever, but let's, because I'm really curious now, just sort of about your program, but I do want to give you a chance to talk about the soccer part, like. And let me be clear, like your first year, you were really successful as well. I mean, like I guess I'm used to seeing programs that, hey, it was our first time, and then they struggle or whatever because of a whole host of reasons, not necessarily a coach's fault. But what would you say? What's your overall assessment of your season?
Year one or year two?
Year two.
I mean, I think year two we were right on our progression. What we had hoped based on year one would occur.
Mm-hmm.
That Pool B opening up for independence really helped us in terms of that NCAA bid. I believe the year before if that Pool B was there, we would have definitely
Qualified,
done it.
yeah.
But now that it wasn't there, I didn't really necessarily let the guys know that that was there. We
Mm-hmm.
still wanted to make sure that we would get a bid even if
Mm-hmm.
that pool B wasn't in play.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, our goal was to basically run the table and make everyone tell us no.
Mm-hmm.
And outside of a 3 day stretch, I mean, we basically did that and did quite well.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll ask you about those 3 days because it does sort of glare out, like because you were like I said, you've been really successful. Are there any highlights that come to mind for you?
In terms of the season, I mean,
Yeah.
getting that NCAA bid was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Having that ability to go coach against some coaches that I extremely respect, and growing up and being on staff at St. Thomas for
Mm-hmm.
those couple of years, being able to coach against them in a assistant role, but now getting to be the head coach and kind of go at it, I guess, was extremely exciting.
Mm-hmm.
That would be definitely highlights there, but over the course of those last 2 years, like we're outside of one game, year one, we've been undefeated at home. So it's
Mm-hmm.
been super cool to, kind of brand ourselves at home, start to have fans in the stands, and
Mm-hmm.
really make it a tough place to play. So in terms of highlights, I would say that Platteville game very early
Mm-hmm.
was a great game for us. The Loris game was a great game at home. So that was, I would say, the highlights.
Mm-hmm. What? This is, was there? Is there anything? Was there anything in knowing it's year two, like that was a particular challenge for you guys? Like, is there? I'm not. like, are you still trying to build just a program, or what were things, and so that things were relatively smooth, or did you have some things that you had to deal with during the season, whether it was on the field or off the field, but any challenges that you?
I mean, I, so we did a good job of, I would say year one, we had just enough depth to get by.
Mm-hmm.
Like if one kid gets hurt, we're okay. If two gets hurt, we're in trouble. Year two, we built enough where we had like a second line worth of depth,
Mm-hmm.
and we did a great job kind of tying the guys in. I mean, we subbed Nathan Donovan, our All American
Mm-hmm.
striker, 22 minutes in almost every match
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning of the season, and we had everyone bought into that. Our superior game, one of our transfer center mids snaps his leg,
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh
our
my
depth
gosh.
takes a big hit. So
Mm-hmm.
we were kind of a little bit reeling. The guys rallied around him, got him some support. Everything was great. Then I would say the biggest challenge was when we hit that Augsburg game, and
Mm-hmm.
7 minutes in, our basically like team leader breaks his leg,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would say our attack revolves around. We're very good on set pieces, and we have a really really long throw. And 15
Mm-hmm.
minutes in, he breaks his ankle.
Oh my gosh.
So we were sorting that out and dipping into depth, and then instead of being able to run two lines, we had to adjust everything that we did kind of on the fly. And I would say, if we want to talk about those 3 days, it was revolved around those two things that
Mm-hmm.
changed everything that we had to do and get ourselves back on track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that would do that, right? Like,
Yeah,
busted legs, and especially against those two teams, they
exactly.
weren't
And not
exactly easy games in their own right, right? Like,
absolutely. Very, very good teams, well coached, and super fun to play against. They make
mm-hmm.
you learn a lot about yourself as well as your group.
Yeah. Hey, so you've I'm just curious. Do you have any thoughts about the no overtimes? Granted, you only had one tie that went to PKs against Gustavus Adolphus, I think. And does I mean, do you have any thoughts on that? You don't have much experience, I mean, during the regular season, since you pretty much ran the table, but
Yeah, going into that, I mean, we talked to the guys about that. We ran what we coined. This is from a Sporting Kansas City back in the day when like
mm-hmm.
2013 when they were really good, won the MLS. They called it 90 minutes of hell. So we were like, all right, well we're gonna make our own version of 90 minutes of hell. That's why we kind of like subbed halfway through and just
Right.
ran as hard as we possibly could.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the 90 minutes, like we knew true, it was going to be 90 minutes. There was no overtime. Our training sessions revolved around everything was 90 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
So it, I guess I wish maybe they kept the overtime, but in retrospect, based on this season, it worked out really
Mm-hmm.
well for us because we didn't even think about an overtime. We didn't think about
Right.
tying anyone. It was we have 90 minutes to go get our results. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's the way we viewed it pregame every game.
Yeah. That's it. Because I was my follow up question to that is, do you think anybody tried to play you for a tie, knowing the quality that you're coming out with? Do you think teams did whatever they could to get as long as they can without you guys scoring, and then hopefully getting to a tie?
I feel like I mean there was a few games that in my mind that's smart coaching. That's what
Yeah.
you try to do, nick your result and go from there. So we did have a big emphasis on always kind of scoring that first goal or getting one as early as possible. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that helped us for the most part, with the exception of those two games we were pretty much ahead in every match.
Yeah. That was the. I'm always. It's funny when I started asking about, oh, is it possible? What are you going to do? No OTs, and everyone was like, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change. And then, I talked to coaches afterwards, and things changed, right? Like, because it's just the nature of the game, right? There's different rules. There's different, approaches to how you play with a finite number. Like, you don't have more opportunities, so. In a lot of instances, you find out they're either going for the game or, we'll just sort of pare back a little bit, just sort of absorb some pressure and deal with it, just to get out of the game. So I think that's just interesting. Coaches will do, if we made the game 70 minutes and then an 20-minute overtime, like it could change, like it would change the way somebody approaches every game, right? Like I just think that's normal.
Absolutely. It is crazy how many more ties there were this year without
Yeah.
that overtime rule.
Yeah, yeah. Um, let me. So not this spring, but next spring you get an extra week to train. Excuse me, not weeks. It's now dates, right? Like there's.
Yep.
So I mean, what are your thoughts to that? Do you welcome that having that extra time?
I would train those guys every single day that we possibly had an opportunity to.
Uh-huh.
So I very much so welcome it. Love the idea. Wish we could do it year round.
Uh-huh.
I would say the biggest attribute I had when I took over that North St. Paul soccer program was in Minnesota versus Wisconsin. Wisconsin get like 5 dates to train
Yeah.
your high school players off season. Minnesota, you literally get like June 1 to August 1 to train
Uh-huh.
them. We trained every single day, and I think that changed our program and put us on the
Yeah.
map and made us so much better. So I very much so love more training.
Yeah.
Very excited for the guys in that respect, and
So,
try to grow as many coaches as we can, so that way they can train themselves outside
yeah.
of it.
So I would assume that you would the rule that they defeated about extending the fall season by 10 days or whatever it is. I get sounds like you would be more than happy with that as well.
Absolutely. I know
Yeah.
some people don't, but I eat, sleep, and breathe it, so
Yeah.
we would very much so love it.
What what's your preseason look like right now? Because I know some schools they have, short their preseasons are like 4 days and then they got classes, right? And so that dramatically changes things. What does it look like for you?
I mean, we come in as early as possible, so like we try to get that September 1
Yeah.
game, and then the whatever 16 or 13 whatever days behind that
Uh huh.
we'll be there. So like it's August 18th, 19th,
18th, yeah,
whatever.
somewhere in there, yeah.
So we'll come in then. We'll try to get 2 like D2 scrimmages in,
Mm-hmm.
and then get after our schedule right away. I do not do 2-a-days. We
Yeah.
do one true practice. Injuries are a big thing, and I just don't want to burn them out. So
Right.
we'll try to make sure we have true practice, but then also a lot of like team bonding type stuff. So preseason
Mm-hmm.
wise, we come in as early as possible, but not
You don't kill them.
no
Yeah.
no.
Yeah,
It is
that
a
makes.
long season,
Yeah,
even though
yeah.
it seems so short that with
Yeah.
injuries it can be short fast.
Well, and it also sounds like you expect high intensity, right? Like
All the
high
time.
intense, like the 90 minutes of hell. So it almost, yeah, it probably behooves you to not give them 180 minutes of hell every day while you can, because it just, your body's going to wear, even at the end of preseason, like it could just be totally broken by that point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you take an injury early in preseason, your
You
season's pretty well ruined.
ruined. Yeah, yeah. Um, I mean, you're part of the University of Wisconsin, right? Like, is that the like the whatever? I don't want to say satellite. That sounds too terrible. But like so you're public. Do you think does that? What's your? I mean, are there any challenges, do you think, between a public university in like the recruiting process and all those things versus if a private school going after kids? I mean, do you experience any of that?
I think, I mean, both have their challenges. Being at St. Thomas and then in the private world, and then being at Eau Claire in the public
Mm-hmm.
world. I can tell you what your price tag is, and it's not really going to change. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter necessarily what your academic profile looks
Mm-hmm.
like, or your any of it really. Like you know what you're going to pay.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't hidden scholarships or things like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that can pop up. Uh,
Yeah, like some magical. Hey, look, I just found you 5 grand.
Exactly. So like you know you know what you're gonna get,
Yeah.
and the price tag is bare bones. I mean, it's low, and if someone comes in under because they did whatever they did, it is what it is. So
Mm-hmm.
I I, I feel like, I mean, I enjoy the public aspect of it, especially in our area, there isn't really anything that provides a public education to be able to play T3,
Mm-hmm.
especially in that. I guess you would consider us more like Western Wisconsin / Minnesota
Uh-huh.
would be more of our area, because when you get to the
Yeah.
east side of Wisconsin, there's your Whitewater Platteville. You're getting
Yeah,
your public
yeah.
education in Minnesota. Really, uh, I guess D2 St. Cloud State would be the only other
Mm-hmm.
public institution we would be recruiting against, kind of in that area.
Yeah.
So I look at it as a benefit. It's helped us out in majority of our conversations in terms of like, this is how much you're going to pay. They don't have
Yeah.
to wait a
Uh,
extended period of time figuring out what that price tag is.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, having to deal with my sons, the simple players, number two right now, like, it's a big deal. Some of the schools that he's looking at, like, dude, we can't make a decision until see all the financials, and it takes right, like, because it's there. I know what the top line is. What's the bottom line? And it's getting
Exactly.
to the bottom line is almost like a a little bit of a jigsaw puzzle. That's the best way I could describe it. So, I'm just
Absolutely.
pulling you guys up on a map because I am. Oh, you're next to Altoona. No, um, not the same. Oh yeah, you're right. Oh yeah. I mean,
So
you're
I mean,
right there. St. Paul, right? Like you're.
yeah, absolutely. St. Paul is literally like an hour
Yeah.
away, hour and 15 minutes. So like all their you don't exactly go to Eastern Wisconsin for your sports. It's more
No. Yeah. Yeah.
Minnesota based for like
Yeah.
your.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. And you're a ways away from Milwaukee, right? Like you're.
Yep, we're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Recruiting trips for me to head to Milwaukee to go watch high school games is like,
It's not.
we have to get done with practice at 2:30, and I gotta
Yeah.
sprint off to
Yeah.
Milwaukee to be able to watch a game and then drive overnight back.
Yeah. That's. So now you just raise it. You recruit. You watch high school games when you can.
We literally watch absolutely everything we possibly can. We have
Mm-hmm.
kids. I mean, the cool thing now is like they have VO and Huddle
Yeah.
and Trace, and so
Yeah.
like they'll send us their game films, but
Mm-hmm.
we view like, we want to get out and support you. We feel as though it's really important that we show ourselves to
Mm-hmm.
you just the same as you want to come to us. Like, we want to
Yeah.
show our interest. So it was crazy whirlwind year one, trying to like recruit a 32-man team
Yeah.
during COVID, trying to figure all that out. That was an insane nightmare. I don't think I was even done recruiting until like the first day of preseason for
Yeah.
that team. And then it kind of set us behind for year two, I guess. So
Mm-hmm.
year two's 2022 class, I mean, we were again like working hard, even though it was like 7 or 8 guys. We were working behind, where our 2023 class, we finally
Yeah.
have everything where we wanted, and we basically had we had 12 players wrapped up by Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we
Do,
were very excited about that.
what?
And now like 24s, we've already basically had every 24 on campus.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think
Different. Yeah. What? Do you have an assistant? Like, is a full time assistant or anything like that?
no, we have stipend assistants.
Uh huh.
I'm very blessed to have kind of my best friend for a long time
Mm-hmm.
be on staff. He worked with me at the high school. He
Mm-hmm.
runs the girls GA program in
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota here. He jumps in the car and drives out, and I do my best. We do camps,
Mm-hmm.
and basically all the money from the camps go to the assistants.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh, very good.
yeah,
Very good. Yeah, they're important, right? Like you don't how much they
extremely
pick up.
important.
I should interview assistant coaches. That you know.
The day
Yeah.
in the life of an assistant coach
Assistant.
is is crazy. I mean, I just remember my time at St. Thomas, those 3 years of,
Yeah.
it's a grind. Like, I very much so value it, because I feel like I got out of it what I put in, and then
Yeah.
I got where I got because of it. I wouldn't have had the opportunities or met the people or learned all
Yeah.
of that if I didn't have that experience.
Yeah. All right. So year two, just amazing. You went 19-2-1, made it to the NCAA's in the second year of your program. I mean, you had a number of accolades. Like your team had a number of accolades, but you were Coach of the Year, All Wisconsin Coach of the Year, which, I mean, that's just awesome. Um, and let's talk about the two games. I mean, you went undefeated in September, and then you went undefeated from that second week in October up until your loss against Gustavus Adolphus. Like, what was it? The injuries, or was that the biggest thing that you were dealing with in those two games? Like, how do we feel? How do we deal with those things? Is that it for against Augsburg and St. Olaf?
So like those first 13 games, we played 13 games in a 26-day stretch.
Yeah.
So to rattle off that was complete insanity, and we were extremely proud. I mean, our strength and conditioning staff and our med and everyone, like, they stepped up huge, and the guys were just bought in. Those 2 days. I mean, that Augsburg game, I don't know, the shot count for us comparative to them was off the charts. I did not expect Augsburg to change. Their coach is fantastic. Holker does an amazing job. I've never seen him make an adjustment to another team. Normally, they always impose their will. They actually dropped in a low block, and we had not trained for it. We weren't ready for them to do that to us.
Right.
So that part, I mean, it was great coaching on their part. Us and those injuries changed how we had to play, and I mean, it was a culmination of those things. And obviously, St. Olaf's fantastic. Like they have their own brand of soccer.
Oh my gosh, they're so
fun
good
to watch.
Yeah.
And like I was very much so blessed. I was the USL2 coach this past year, so I got to work with a lot of those guys on that group, and I just blows my mind how great they are on the ball. At throwing two extra players in, we tried to press them. We tried to do what we normally do, and having two guys that were freshmen that weren't necessarily ready for that. They broke it, and they did what they did. We missed countless breakaways. We were just off, and most of us did us.
Yeah. No,
it was a great experience for us to get ready for those following games, ready for the NCAA tournament, to see things that we hadn't seen other teams do. So it was great.
I mean, it just interests me because, right, like you know, you always find out like there's things going on when a team loses like that. You know, like there's more to it than just, oh, you lost a game, right? You're dealing with a lot more. There's, you know, I didn't realize, and I should have, because I was just amazed at your September, that you played 13 games in 26 days. Like that's remarkable. You know, every other day it seems like you were playing, right? Like pretty darn close to
back-to-backs.
Yeah.
It was, and that's a product of being an independent. We don't have a conference, so there isn't a schedule. So we have to take the leftovers of everyone else.
Yeah.
And when a coach calls preseason and says, we can't play you on this date, I'm at their mercy, which is not cool. And then everyone theoretically like wants us on their schedule now because we're a quality enough team. SOS is high enough. So it's like it's a little bit of a give and take. Like if you want to play us, you got to help us out a little bit. I feel like we've done a better job in 24 of having a more structured schedule, or sorry, 23 having a structured schedule, but 24 is still crazy at the whim of kind of everyone else.
Yeah, I didn't even realize the challenges to that, being an independent, like especially once you get out of, you know, September, right? Every team you probably play goes into league play.
Yep.
And so they're locked in right there. And I would suspect that a lot of teams are like, yeah, unless there's a benefit to me, I'm not sure I want to throw in an extra game in there that could mess up my league run or whatever, or conference run or whatever.
So, I mean, it's a benefit in terms of, like, some of those teams might, like, back off. So it might be a little bit easier. They might not play someone because they don't want to get them hurt, or yellow cards. They could be worried about that for the league. But, yeah, like, I mean, October, it is slim pickings to get games.
Yeah. Um, can I ask you? This is a totally political question, so I'm not gonna hold you to answer it. And like I mentioned to you before, this is recorded. So, first of all, what was the decision? Like, what was it about Eau Claire that decided, hey, after so many years, like let's start up a soccer program, and then I mean, this might be a softball, but like, how supportive have they been of the program, knowing that you just got started, right? Because like I'm looking at this and I'm like, man, if you did this well, that's great. You haven't even taken off yet, right? Like I would have been like, I think 4 years is the time frame you almost need to get settled in, and so I'm just curious about that. Like, how supportive have they been? Is there, anything you could talk about that? Like I said, if you don't want to, I totally understand.
No, no, I would. I mean, I guess during my interview process and everything, it was we're adding sports because we want to continue to help enrollment. Kids that play sports typically stay in school.
Stay, yeah.
So I mean, that's a big driving factor. They technically they brought baseball back. So they had baseball before. They added men's soccer and they added women's lacrosse.
Mm-hmm.
So those were the three sports that they added during that time. And I mean, during that process, the expectation was we win. That's what we do as an athletic department. And I mean, that's me as a person though. So like,
Yeah.
like just competitive. So very much so enjoy that. And the administration has been amazing. Like, I mean, whether it's like our media specialists or it's our strength and conditioning or it's our athletic director or assistant athletic, like everyone is just bought in. They're there for you every day. I can't tell you there's a time of the day they wouldn't answer the phone if any questions came up. They do a great job giving you space, but then also checking in and making sure that whatever you need is taken care of.
Yeah, as I always say, like sometimes it helps. Well, it helps immensely when you have when your program is supported, right? Like I think that makes a big difference. So they're not just saying, "Hey, we're going to have a program." I should get your dog with my dog, but I think yeah, he's chilling right now.
Yeah, he is just up on the couch hanging out.
Yeah. I forget where I was going with that, but hey, at what point? Granted, you had a really successful first year. Your second year, was there a point in the season where you're like, man, this team has the ability to go far? Like, I mean, was it after the September? Was there a particular game?
Um, I, it's tough because we take it like one game at a time. Like that's just how we work with the guys. Like we never look past whatever the next game is. So everyone kept, I don't know, a lot of friends in the coaching circles, right? They text you like, you're gonna go 11-0, you're gonna go 13-0, you're gonna like. And they just keep like texting and adding more to like
Yeah,
like 5-0 at the time, and they're like adding more games to this. And it's like, so I wouldn't say that there's like a point. I think the biggest point was the year before, I guess, when we realized technically what we had. And the cool part is like the guys are kind of the driving factor behind our recruiting process. Like they're the ones that take the players out. I mean, we obviously as a staff bring them in and like
right.
all this stuff, but like we kind of have them interview the players and everything, and everyone's bought in, and it's really cool because like their conversation with those players is like, if you're coming here for a reason. Like,
Yeah.
coach thinks that like you're gonna fill a role for us and yada yada yada. So the previous year when we did what we did, we realized we had a very special group. We had a lot of guys that were bought in. We then just added layers of pieces that we felt we were missing from the year before. That some transfers that I had at St. Thomas that came with later, and that helped a ton and just build some great roles. So I wouldn't say there was a point we had very high expectations and they set their own expectations, and we just every day met those expectations.
This is a terrible question, and I apologize. Like, I got you were at St. Thomas. What the St. Thomas that went Division One
Yes.
recently? Yeah, or like a couple of years or 3 years. I forget when. Um, the and not this. You're not playing slouches like I said. Augsburg, Loras, St. Olaf. I mean, you played Luther in the first round. You played Gustavus Adolphus. So you've had visibility into some other teams, like I'll just say high level teams. Do, I mean, what were your thoughts going? Gustavus Adolphus has obviously made a name for itself in this year in particular. I think last year as well, but this year in particular, I think a lot of people were focused in on them, not so much on you guys. But I mean, did you get a chance to look at some of the other games out there, some of the other teams that are sort of perennial, um, um, power teams? So, well, I'll just say top 20. And I mean, how do you stack yourself up against those guys? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, the best measure, I guess, is who you played, and you kind of alluded to
Mm-hmm.
that already. Next year, we project to have one of the toughest schedules in the country. We're gonna go to Chicago. We're gonna play the
Wow.
University of Chicago. We're we kind of put our SOS on paper, and it should come out at like a .66
Wow.
plus.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be extremely difficult, but
Mm-hmm.
we're excited. We want to go play those teams, and we feel as though if we can get that experience based on like the playing the St. Olaf, playing the Platteville, playing
Yeah.
Whitewater, Loris, etc., like
Yeah.
that will prepare us for that tournament time to be
Yeah.
able to meet any challenge that
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
comes our way.
forget about Whitewater's good. I just have personal issues with them as I'm a Mount Union Purple Raider. So yeah. I think I reached out to the coach. I don't know. Maybe he knew my background, so he's like, "Yeah, no, I'm not talking to that guy."
He's old
All right.
school.
Yeah, yeah. So just a couple more questions for you. Like, what are your plans for the spring? I mean, how do you? What are sort of your focus points? Do you focus more on the technical side? Is it tactical? What are the things you look to do in this spring?
I mean, the expectation for the guys is they take care of their technical pieces. We give them
Mm-hmm.
things to work on. They they should be in a racquetball room. They should be. I mean, they are currently playing futsal on their own, doing their
Mm-hmm.
thing. They should be working on those pieces on their own. The
Mm-hmm.
tactical side is very important. That's what we focus on all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of what we do. We feel
Mm-hmm.
like that separates us from other groups because we can change in and out of shapes and
Mm-hmm.
do things that just by this simple call from a touch line help them
Mm-hmm.
out. So continuing on building our timing with our core group, and it's going to be exciting to add in some of our freshmen, some of our transfers for next year. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it'd be super cool if they could all just join in the spring and make life easier.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Um,
just
no,
continue to build off on our
uh
foundation
huh,
and the things that we do well on the tactical side and
yeah,
build that competitiveness.
yeah. All right, you mentioned it, so those weren't the last two. Like, I still have more questions. So the you mentioned it a couple times about having transfers. I mean, one, do you? The obvious question is: are you on the transfer portal? Are you always looking for guys, or are these more like either you've recruited the first year, or do they pick up the phone and just say, "Hey, I want to come to your school"? How's that work for you?
Um, it's it's specifically like personal connection. If
Mm-hmm.
I've coached them when they were younger or coached them at
Mm-hmm.
some other area, know them well enough, our culture is extremely important to us, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that that is our foundation, and
Mm-hmm.
that is the number one thing we talk to about kids and parents when they come in the door.
Mm-hmm.
So I would the transfer portal is a big thing. I think in like D1 sports, it's massive.
Yeah.
Uh, D3, there's still a ton of kids on it, and like I think
Mm-hmm.
via their social medias and everything, it's a big deal to them to be like, I'm in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
I look at it. Don't get me wrong. I look at it every day for someone that I know, not
Mm-hmm.
looking at it for just a name, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
So all the kids that we bring are specific personal connection kids,
Yeah.
not because they're in there.
Yeah. That's it's probably a good rule of thumb, right? Otherwise, you're not really sure who you're getting, right? And I think that,
Exactly.
so, granted, young program, but it's easy to have somebody just blow up a locker room really quick, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Last question until I come up with another one in my head. But and you mentioned a little bit about it, but what does your recruiting class that's coming in for the fall look like? You already have a ton of talent. Like, how do this segue to that is like, how do you make sure that they incorporate well into your squad?
I think, I mean, the biggest thing is every year brings a new challenge, especially with a new program. Year one was getting quality on the field. Year two was getting depth behind that. Now year three, we have a lot of depth and a lot of good players. So it's how do we incorporate those players with the current core that built us, made us, and everything. And I think everyone is under the understanding that we want to get better. We want to go win an NCAA tournament. So you have to have better players. So I think our biggest piece is going to be in that preseason with our culture, having guys understand that they all are bought in, they all need to be part of it, and their roles are going to probably change. And what the roles of those new guys are versus what the roles of the former players are is going to be very important.
Yeah. What number do you have coming? How many do you have coming in? Do you know?
Yeah, we have more than I want. Let's put it that way. But it's a good problem. I mean, it's like we have some very, very good players. It's just some of those team culture guys are going to have to understand they're either going to have to take a back seat or they're just not going to be able to necessarily be part of the program anymore. And that's when you already, I mean, theoretically next year everyone's going to be juniors. So we have to get a cycle where it's like 7-8 guys come in, 7-8 guys come out. We only graduated one kid that was on campus.
Oh yeah.
Previously, so
that's true.
We're technically graduating anyone. So in order to get better, we have to bring in quality players. And when other quality players see that we're a quality program, we only targeted like 22 kids, and 12 of them basically said yes. It might be more like 15, but I got to tell a couple of them no. So we have like 12 coming in.
Yeah. That's true. I didn't even think of that. You're not graduating anybody.
No.
Right. I mean, unless you had the odd transfer, but you don't. So theoretically, if they're going to be juniors, then they'll be seniors. That senior year, you're going to graduate 20 some odd guys, right? And so you do have to. That's kind of earth shattering, right? Like, could really shake the core unless you've been bringing in quality guys to sort of. How do we diversify the group, right? Like, I didn't even think of that.
That was kind of our push this year, is that being that they're going to be juniors, we need freshmen. So like every 2 years, we need to have kind of that core group. So that's why we overdid it with this upcoming class to compensate, so that we'll at least like have juniors on the field when the other ones are all gone.
You're gone, yeah. Oh, that's interesting. All right, Coach. I think that does it for me. Really do appreciate you taking the time, and I'm sure you got stuff to do. Your dog in the background clearly has other ideas. But thank you.
He wants to go
outside. Thank you very much. Really do appreciate it. All the best. This is awesome. I loved hearing the fact that like I said, I didn't realize I knew you were new, but I didn't realize you were that new. So. All the best to you and your men, and hopefully we could connect in the summertime at some point and do another one of these, just talking about what you see coming up for the season. So
absolutely, thank you so very much for taking the time, and it means a lot.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, there's one rule to this, right? Like, there is one rule. So you have a very, very large squad. So I expect 50 subscribers here just from the Wisconsin Eau Claire school. So you're on the hook for that. Otherwise, I send you a bill. You can pay me in cash, but it's fine. All right, Coach. Really do appreciate it.
You bet. Take care.
Yep. If you like this show, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. You can also find me on anti-social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks. This is a message from my Chief Marketing Officer. I think this keeps him happy.